Hello, screenwriters, and welcome to Writing for Screens Ask Me Almost Anything. My name is Glenn Gers, and I am the Chief Executive Operating Guy for Writing for Screens, which is a channel I have created to try and teach some of the things I learned in a 25-year career in TV and movies, writing for TV and movies, and on my way out of the business, I decided to leave behind some of the stuff I had to teach myself so that you don't have to figure this out for yourself. You can just use these pieces. They're just ideas. They are tricks, tools, skills, techniques, insights. There's no grand theory. There's no rules. It's just stuff you can use here on the page. The most important stuff you can use, I've tried to boil down to short video lessons. These live streams tend to wander on. These lessons are just 10 minutes of the most boiled down, useful, practical stuff I could think of on a topic. And the topic is always the title and the thumbnail so that you can see it there in nice big words, dramatic action, genre, flashback, stuff like that. If you are interested in some useful tricks and tools and insights on those topics, I suggest you go to these 3 playlists. The top 3 playlists are Screenwriting Essentials, Screenwriting Tools, Skills, and Craft, and The Process, Being a Writer. That's where I tried to give you the good stuff. There's about 30 videos now. There's going to be about 50 when I am done. And that's all I ask is check them out because if you are trying to learn the basics from what I have to offer through these live streams, it's going to be hard. I just am taking questions, talking about ideas, but the real lessons, the real tricks and tools, they're in the top 3 playlists on the channel, the first 3. Hello, everybody. There's a big bunch of people here. Hi, Nathan. Hi, Morbo. Hi, Geppentim and Wolf Powers and Michael and Aspen, Runes, Thumper, and Thumper. There you go, Thumper and Umbraman. Lots of folks here today. Hello, hello, hello. Today's topic is, should I go to film school? Because I get asked this a fair amount. And here's the deal. The obvious first, most important answer is, I don't know. How should I know? I don't know you. So the key here is you have to recognize this is my opinion. There is no right or wrong to this. Certainly, I am not going to say there is a right or wrong to this. I'm not a big right or wrong guy anyway for creative stuff. But the most important thing is try to use these things I'm going to tell you, these ways to look at this question, to figure it out for yourself, because that is the key. Every artist must figure out their own path. Okay, so the other thing I need to warn you about in the beginning here is I know about the American film industry. I know the paths of work here. I know what the film schools are like here somewhat. Surely they are different in different countries. The systems are different in different countries. So anything I say does not apply necessarily to other places because I don't know. So you tell me. But the first important point I want to get to is, hello, NS Martanya. Hold on, Umbraman has an opinion. I will be going back to university as a mature student to a film, TV, and theater BA honors degree because I've always wanted to. And I appreciate it. I always wanted to is an excellent reason. That is first rate. Umbraman, I say good on you. Yeah. Always wanting to, that is and especially as a mature student, as someone who knows what they are getting into, that's wonderful. Here's the thing I want to do. That yes, you'll be doing this in England. I knew that. I knew you were from England. First of all, you said going back to university. Here we say college. Even if it's a university, we say college. Okay. Hello, Marteletoso. Hello, Jonathan. So here's the first thing I want to talk to you about American film school, or any film school, really. The important thing you need to remember is, like, if you want to go to be a doctor, or a lawyer, or even a truck driver, you have to go to school, even just to drive a car. You cannot do those things legally without going to a school. Film school is optional. Film school is not required to be in film. Most people in film did not go to film school. That is not to say film school is bad. I'm just saying it's important to distinguish, because very often when you have grown up in the film, in the American or in any academic tradition of, in order to do a thing you need to go to a school, that gets tricky on the creative side. This is something to weigh the pros and cons, the costs and benefits. So, hi, Jean. Hi, it's nice to see you. I am doing okay, Aldrich Warner. It is nice to meet you. Thank you. I liked my work on Fracture too. It was not easy work, but it was good work. Okay, so here's the thing. For fully half of film history at this point is about 120 years. For most of the first half of that, there was no such thing as film school. Work was gotten initially, just anyone who wanted to just walk to a movie set and said, hey, can I do something? And they said, sure, pick up this or that. And they did it, because the first 15 years or so, it was just chaos. Once that started building into an industry, the way you got work was through unions. You had to be in a union, and you had to get into the union to be in the film business. Film schools didn't even start until the 1960s and 70s. And from the 60s through the 80s, there was kind of a mystique growing about film school, because a lot of the new film directors, especially in the indie world, were coming out of film school. So everyone was like, ooh, this is the new thing and the new path. And that's cool. At that time, there were only a few film schools. There really were not very many back in the 60s through the 80s. In the 21st century, like many things, film school has become its own industry, its own business. The idea that making things into businesses is a good idea way took over the film school and school in America business. So that therefore there are lots of film schools. There are too many film schools. So we'll talk about that. But the sum of the value of film school as we have it in legend no longer exists, because the world has changed. Interesting topic. As I've been thinking about it, weighing the pros and cons, as I'm 30. 30 is a legit time to do that. That is not too late. It's good. We'll talk about the pros and cons. Please feel free to weigh in on that. Excuse my back productions. It's funny. Okay. A screenwriting class is good because you go through a step-by-step approach. Sometimes a screenwriting class is good. And hi, Donna, you're welcome. Sometimes a screenwriting class is good. A screenwriting class is good in that it teaches you a thing. As you know, my feeling is there is not a right way to be a screenwriter or any form of artist. So therefore, what screenwriting classes do is teach you a way or an approach or a bunch of tricks like I am doing, or they give you some ideas from that teacher or school's point of view. That is helpful. Once again, the big question, and Michael just mentioned it here, couldn't afford, and denied it, it's costly. It is costly to go to a film school, and you need to think about whether it's worth it to you. That's the thing I want to emphasize. So let's talk about hi, Larry. Let's talk about one of the things that is most important when you're asking this question, which is not, do you want to go to film school? It's, what do you want to go to film school for? Or another way to put that is, what do you want to get out of film school? What are you getting from going to film school? Since it is optional, the question is, what specifically are you trying to get out of it? Everyone will have different needs and uses for the film school. The main thing I want to do is ask you to ask the question, because often you will find yourself stating assumptions that you have made, or that your culture, or that your community, or that your family has made about schools and film schools, therefore. And those should be questioned. That's all I am saying. Question your assumptions before you commit to an awful lot of time and money. If you have a lot of time and money, certainly it could be worth trying. But the main thing I want to ask you is, what is it you think that film school will give you? Let's talk about some of the things that people think film school will give them. Certainly a technical education that in certain film schools more than others, you will learn how stuff works, how to film and record and edit and things like that. And that's one part of film education. But there's another part, which is the artistic, aesthetic, theoretical, historical education into the ideas of film. Then another thing is the business end, the rituals and rules that the industry has, which are very important for you to know if you're going to try and work in the business. And some schools, more than others, will try and give you that. Others are very theoretical, very much like you learn the art here, and if you want to learn the business, go get a job. The other things that you can get from a film school can be a community. Collaborators to work with, other people who are learning alongside you and who you can work with. And finally, some people go because they believe that they can get industry access. In other words, when you come out, just like when you come out of law school and you have that law degree, in theory that would open doors for you. All of these possible reasons to go need to be examined. You need to think about what they actually have to offer. You need to check what the schools that you are considering have proportionalized on those ideas, because nobody does everything. No school gives you everything. Without sounding like a fanboy, it's okay. It sounds like those are just as valid, and in many cases more so, because it delivers a lot of information very directly from real-world experience. Mentor style of teaching. Thank you. That is certainly what I am trying to accomplish. So, yay, fan up. That's all cool. And I will talk about that too. What can you learn on your own without film school? Let's talk about the technical education. There was a long period, most again of film history, up until very recently, we're talking the past 20 or so years, you could not get your hands on film equipment. It was not something you could easily, a film camera cost tens of thousands of dollars, and you would need a high amount of technical knowledge to use it. It was impossible to get sync sound equipment for most of the 20th century. So if you wanted to learn how to make a film, you had to go to either film school or a film set. Those are the only places where they had the stuff. That is over. However, there are now many very good technically oriented film schools that say, we are going to teach you the basics of lighting, the basics of microphones, the basics of editing. And these are important skills, and they are tech heavy. They are production heavy. That is a very useful set of skills. However, most people who go into film school, they want to be writers and or directors, mostly directors. And so therefore the historical, the aesthetic, the artistic education is very valuable. Those two are the substance of the education. But as I said, the reasons that you go are not really entirely about that. One of the main things that a lot of schools try and teach you is, what are the rules for this business? Because unlike medical school or dental school, where there's like written rules, there are boards of medicine and boards of law and legal organizations which set down, this is what you can do and this is what you can't do and this is how this is done. Film does not work that way. The film industry is somewhat obscure. And so therefore, there are some schools that try to say, this is how you get jobs, this is how you behave when you have a job, this is et cetera, et cetera. That's a valuable thing. See if your school talks about that. The other reasons are, I think, perhaps the most important things. Community and collaborators. That's a big deal. That may be the biggest thing you can get out of film school. The community of people that you meet and work with, the other students, are probably going to be the most valuable resource you can get out of film school, because they're going to be people who are going to spread out into the business after they get out and like you. And if you stay in touch, if you work together, if you get along, you might be able to help each other. You might be able to team up on things. You might be able to pass some work around. You'll certainly be able to share experiences. This is immensely valuable. And it is not exclusively available in film school. You can get that without that, but it is a major, one of possibly the major reason to go to film school. The other question is of industry access. And I gotta say, let me just check some comments here, because we've got a bunch. I didn't go to film school. I did go to college to get educated in film, educated in production, but it turns out that most of the classes were on the theoretical side. This is going to be true of most colleges. It is useful. Most schools do not have film production degrees. Film studies, yeah. I thought film studies could be a film production degree. This is actually what I want to talk about most. Find out before you sign up. As Jonathan is pointing out, and I had this in college too. I went to college. They said that they had a creative writing major, and I was only going to college to be a creative writing major. And I went, and then when I got there, I went to the English department and said, oh, that creative writing major, you have to get special permission. And so I never did. I couldn't get the permission. I turned out to be just a regular English major. It was a good English education. I'm not sorry I got it. But I do have to say, I might not have gone if they had told me up front that I couldn't get the major I wanted. Find out what is offered in the school you are considering. No school will give you everything, and no school will guarantee that it will be good. Every school can have bad teachers. Every school can have useless classes. That's just part of the way the chips lie. Even at great places, you can get a lousy teacher. Artists often, a lot of the question is, are you getting people who are actually doing the art? And part of that is tricky. Yes, it is really valuable to hear about art from working artists. It's also important to remember that artists are very often not good teachers. They often only can see things their way or teach their method. Sometimes they just tell you stories about their life, which is interesting but not probably worth the tuition. You'd be surprised. Sometimes a good teacher who never did a thing is better than a bad teacher who is an actually great artist. Okay. What really helped me was reading scripts of my favorite movies. Absolutely. Yes, everyone must do that. London Film Academy offers very hands-on practical courses. Yeah, did more. That's interesting and nice to hear. One of my favorite horror movies, Witchboard, was made by two guys fresh out of film school who probably met there. Absolutely, a lot of people work together from the group that they go to school with. Our dean, who was August Coppola, and he was teaching, able to get in. Yeah, certainly. If you've got people in the Coppola family, they may be able to get you. They may be able to pull some favors and get people to come in, and that's a cool thing. It's a great experience. It is not required. I went to film school, college. This one was very hands-on approach. I took advantage of every opportunity to be on set and get a job in that context. So yes, go. If you go, say yes to everything. That is good advice. Thank you, Donna. If you go, take what they are giving you, which may not be what you thought you were going to get. Hi, Nacho. Yes, here at Glenn Gers University, we do offer a wide array of classes. Anyway, so let's get back to the basic concepts of what you are going for. So if you are going for a technical education, be sure that the school, like if you are interested in becoming a camera person or a lighting person or editing, yes, find a school that specializes in that or offers that. If you are but the thing is, most people who go to film school go because they want to be writers and directors. And this is tricky because, first of all, you may be better off meeting a bunch of camera people and hair people and editors if you are a director. Meeting a whole lot of other directors, although it can be fun, can often not be helpful. The main thing is that for a long time, a lot of these reasons were the only way you could get them was through a film school. That was the only way. Now you can do most of these things without a film school. Film school is no longer the only way to get most of the things on this list. In fact, I would say probably all of the things. You can now do it yourself most of what film school offers. The amount of information that is available to you now is for the first time greater than what is taught at any particular school. The one area that you may not be able to get as much hands-on experience at is the technical. Getting to use equipment, getting to learn equipment with people who practice specific crafts in the business, that is where the work, the film school can really be worthwhile. But if you want to form a community of collaborators and supportive film network, and you can't go to film school, just form the community, form a club, form a production group, form a film club, get a workshop going. You can do that yourself. You can also do a lot of that online. You can share a lot of stuff, including, you can send someone your video and have them edit it. There's a lot of things you can do without even being in the same place as the other people. So I would say that of these reasons, the artistic education, the industry rituals, much of that information is now available online and in books and in videos and in interviews and in websites. There's online magazines. There is a lot of stuff where you're going to get the industry rituals, where you're going to get the artistic education. And the question of industry access, honestly, that doesn't happen as much as it used to. If you are going to one of the most elite, famous film schools, yes, you will now and then get to have a teacher who is still working in the business, or you will get to do a film festival of student films, and that will be shown to some people who are in the business. However, you are then just competing for luck and attention, and it always comes down to luck, that the right person sees the thing you do at the point they want to see it. It's insane to go through years of school to try and get to get into that contest. That's not a good reason to go to film school. The idea that you will get special entree is usually not so useful. Okay, let me just check. So we've got lots of comments going here. I see all schools like a platform. Like here, things have changed for the better. Yes. I think schools are a platform. I think that there are many platforms now. A lot of this has to do with who you are. Whether or not school is of use to you personally. If you learn well in a school, that is often not the case for creative work. Hi, Rainy Hammer. This feels like fate. Tomorrow I will get an answer whether I go to film school. In Norway, one of the best ways to find people who's going is yes, that from what I have understood, in some places, in the second year you were given the chance to intern at a publishing company. That's cool, although a publishing company seems a strange place for a film student, but never know. I think that may be a translation issue. But yes, internships, those are things that are valuable in schools, and you can get some marvelous teachers. You can get incredible experiences sharing and working together. I do not want to say that film school is not valuable. It is valuable. It is a question of whether it is as much value as the money you are paying to you. That's the key. That is the most important thing that you need to remember, is that unlike, as I said, unlike medical school, you don't need it. That may not be, that if you can't do it, if you can't get into the school you want to, or if you can't afford the school you want to, don't believe that means you are ruled out of, frankly, 95% of what you can get in film school. Much of what you can get, if you have it in you to pursue it, it's on you to keep looking, to find teachers and mentors, to get experiences. That becomes on you. In school, they tell you what to do. However, in school, therefore, they are telling you what they think you should do. It may or may not be what's most valuable for you. Book by Phoenix, Screenwriting Bible, and Watching Films took me a long way. Indeed, this is, any art is to a certain extent self-taught, even if you go to film school. My local film club has been instrumental to our local community of filmmakers. Yes, that is great. I believe that's a big deal, to find communities, to collaborate, to share, to encourage and support. Hi, Ashtul. Thank you very much. Overall, I'd say make your own short film and you'll learn much more than in school. Not just about filming, but mainly about what yourself and what you're capable of. This is a very good point. I don't think it's mutually exclusive. A lot of it also depends on how much production the school, some schools don't, at least they used to, not even let you make a film for a long time, and often they would not let you direct. Like people went through film school never only getting to be crew on other people's films. That seems to me unfair. If you are going to school to be a director, you should get the opportunity to direct, I believe. I believe we should go to the school every chance we get to teach them to learn and be relevant. That is certainly fair when you can. And when you finish film school, now what? That is the question that all of us. Everyone needs a first AD. That is absolutely true. Donna knows. If you are willing to do the jobs in production that are not the most glamorous ones, they are often very hard. You will get a lot of experience about making a film. And that is really, really a good point. Learn the different jobs if you can. In production company. Cool. Good. Good luck either way. If it works, it works. If it doesn't, you will find other ways. One of the things I want to emphasize here is most work in the industry is what they call below the line. Do you know what below the line is? I hope you do. If not, this is important. Above the line is the actors, the directors, the writers, the producers. That's it. Those are the people, quote, above the line. That line being a line in the budget. And the people below the line are everybody else, all the composers and editors and grips and camera people. Everyone else working on a film is below the line. So obviously, most work in the industry is below the line. Most people who go to film school want to be above the line and do not consider being below the line. That is something to consider for yourself, because if you want to work in the business, have experience of production stuff, working below the line is where you are going to get opportunities, where you are going to get experiences. It will not help you to become a great director necessarily, although it will help you to understand how the people who are working with you do their jobs, and that makes for good directing. However, film school, if you are working below the line and the film school teaches those skills, that is extremely useful. Film school for below the line makes more sense than film school for above the line, weirdly. But this is really important that you understand the difference. Most of the work, most of the opportunities you will get would be not doing the writing, directing, acting, producing thing. And the thing is, if you want to do those things, you need to put your full effort into doing those things. Film school may actually be teaching you things you don't need to know. It's tricky. Good, Rainy Hammer. You should try it. Also, once again, you should try on older roles. And one of the things that I found, I didn't get to go to film school. I did apply and didn't get in, but I only applied to one school at one point. But I made films, and I urge you to do this. And they were not good, and they took a long time, and they were very difficult. But I had to learn to understand the entire process of production, which meant when it came to writing or directing, I understood what I was writing for, and that is really valuable. If you understand what it means to turn around lights and do a cover of another side of the set, it will help you when you decide how you're writing things. Not that you write which direction the camera is pointing, but you do write exterior rainy night when you don't need an exterior rainy night, and I guarantee you they're going to tell you, take out the rainy night part. So I think that one of the things that is really a valuable thing for you to figure out is how can you learn things no matter what. There is high quality consumer technology now. You can make a film with your phone, a high quality. You can make a film that can, in theory, be released. Obviously, it would be better to get it off your phone and onto your desktop and use some slightly better equipment, but it can be done. There is a huge amount of information online. There are now, at the time that I was teaching myself, there were only a handful of film books. There are now more than you can read. So read as many as you can. Seriously, books are a very valuable source of information. Start your own community. Get involved in a community. Get involved in production. These are the things that film school, whether or not you do film school, these are things that are valuable for you. Also, film school, depending on the school, is very often industry-oriented. And therefore, the people in the school and in the industry often disdain DIY or art film. And so therefore, make sure you understand the attitude of the kind of school you are going to, because some are very pre-professional. This is what it's like to work in the business, follow the rules. And other people are like, explore, find, there's schools that are much more into, this is the artistry of cinema, maybe you'll make a living. Figure out which one. Don't go to one that doesn't support the thing you want to do. Roger Corman did pay his crew with experience. That's not good anymore. You should pay your crew with at least sandwiches and a little bit of money. Unless nobody is making money, but Roger Corman was making money, so he should have paid people. But yes, there are many, many variations, which I've talked about, when you are doing community-based DIY filmmaking. Very often nobody gets paid, but everyone works together to the extent they can in a healthy, supportive way, as long as nobody is taking money. If somebody is getting money, then everybody should get some money, my opinion. Okay. So, we've got most of the main thing is also, this is about a video about screenwriting. Screenwriting is not necessarily what they're going to teach you in film school. Screenwriting often is only one class, and then you have to take 50,000 others. that may not be the best use of your time if you are focused on screenwriting. If you are going to be a screenwriter, a specialized school in screenwriting, a specialized program in screenwriting is good, but film school itself is somewhat less necessary. You do not actually need to learn all this production stuff to write a good script. Like I said, it's a cool experience. It usually helps you, especially if you want to direct, but screenwriting, film school, not always the most useful use of your, once again, money and time. That's really what matters, how much money and time you have. The good thing about screenwriting, though, is of the types of schools that you have, there's now a thing called low residency programs, especially in master's programs, where you don't actually have to go to the school physically, except for a week or two twice a year. The rest of the time you do online classes. As a writer, that's not a bad idea. You can still work a job or live at your home or do whatever you need to do. Going to film school can be an all-consuming thing, and you have to realize you are taking the time and money to do that. Now, let's talk about the advantages of school, because there are some and they're important. The first thing about education that's really useful is you don't know what you don't know. It's really important to recognize that by exposing yourself to others who have knowledge, and they will tell you things that you don't know, that you didn't know you didn't know. So you can't go out and seek them because you don't know them. Education is more likely to give you lumps of stuff that you never knew you didn't know. Some of it will be valuable, some of it won't. But it is usually a good thing to learn from people who know things you don't know. The danger of self-education is you will steer towards what you like and what you're already good at. That's cool, but it's really important to be pushed to learn the things you absolutely can't stand, the things you don't respect, the things you are bored by. That is what tends to make you better at the job, at the art. If you only do what you are good at, there are going to be areas where you can't do things. And that's too bad as an artist. It's a fine balance, because there isn't a lot of value sometimes to learning things antithetical to what you want to do. But you'd be surprised how often it's valuable, and you don't always see the value until later. I have to tell you, when I went to college and I found out I couldn't be a creative writing major, I still managed to take a creative writing class most semesters, or something in my interest. But I also had to take a ton of classes that I did not want to take. And I learned an awful lot. At the time, I was honestly very bored by a lot of it. However, years later, I would find myself thinking, oh, I learned a thing that I didn't think was going to be valuable, and my education forced it on me. And I was frankly a little cocky before I went to college, and I thought, I don't really need all this stuff. I came to recognize the value of learning the rules, learning the classics to the extent that you can, learning the basics. It's very valuable. So that's a good part of education. It is harder to do that in self-education unless you're going to be very rigorous and disciplined with yourself, which you should be if you can. All right. Make a film. Best advice for filmmakers. Yes, whatever you feel like expressing, make a film. Absolutely is. If all other things being equal, if you only get to do one thing, do the thing of writing or making your own work. That should always come first. If you can do that in your other place, in your school, in your job, whatever it is, cool. That's great. But if you have to choose, if you only get to do one, do your work. Keep doing your work. Let's talk about the biggest questions. Oh, hold on. Hello, Amar. Very nice to meet you. Recutting the film with video editing software and labeling the scenes is my way of studying films. Yeah, that's actually a cool thing to do. If you are into that, getting a copy of the film, getting hold of a digital copy of the film, cutting it up and editing it, breaking it down, neat. Also, re-editing it can be a very fascinating experience. But even more valuable is shoot something, anything, and then edit it. I actually did a video about this. It's called I don't have it here. It's called Get Your Script on the Screen. That's one of my videos. I'll put a link to it down in the description after this is over. It's worth checking out. But let's talk about the biggest, most important questions about should I go to film school. Can you afford film school? This is really, really, really important because it has become commonplace in America, at least, to go into debt to get your education. And as far as college goes, these costs are greatly, ridiculously inflated. College costs too much money, and it shouldn't cost that much. There was a short period of time, the past couple of generations, when the payback was that big. Our civilization was such that you could go to college for less and pay off whatever debt you had, and it would pay you back in many ways. This is probably mostly no longer true. We're at a very difficult and dangerous time about this, and all I want to urge you to remember then is film school is optional. If you manage to find a way to go to film school that you can afford without putting yourself into terrible debt, cool. But ask yourself, can you afford it? If not, try to figure out things you can afford. Going into debt for art is a very, very unproductive plan. There was a time very briefly in the 80s and 90s in the last century when people were like, hey, make a film on your credit card, and by the time it gets sold, you'll be able to pay off the credit card with the money. That's a terrible plan. Don't do that. And likewise, going to film school assumes that you are going to start working to pay back that debt, which means below the line work, and a lot of it. So I just urge you to consider your personal situation. I don't know what that is, but I do know that it's very important to not believe that the payoff of artistic success will make going into debt valuable way to become an artist. Do not go into debt for your art. There are just too many ways to do things that don't cost so much. There are too many ways to make art and to pursue an artistic career that do not involve debt. Try to stay out of debt. Work with what you have. Okay. I'm working on a script, which I don't agree with, my friend's film. The challenge is to do something conventionally, something you're not convinced about. Yes, that is a challenge, and it's a worthwhile challenge. Good, I'm glad it's going good. It is a challenge. If you only do what you like, what you're comfortable with, there are things you will not learn. Hi, call me Joe. I'm in film school now in Indonesia. Cool. I feel like I am a technical guy in production, but in class I learned so much about other things like production. Yes, yeah, I cannot emphasize how much different people are different, and different schools are different, and different life stories are different. So the important thing, once again, is for you to ask what you want to get out of film school and whether or not it will get you. When I was trying to go to film school, I mainly wanted the access to the equipment and the opportunity to direct, which I wasn't going to get. So that would have been a terrible, terrible mistake. Get my scripts on the screen. Yes, you can. My take is do it. You can shoot and make, for very, very little money, a short documentary or a short fiction film. Do that. That is a great idea. Making stuff and putting it out there. It's very hard to find an audience. but even the smallest audience, 20, 30 people, you would be amazed what you get from having strangers see your work. My son took editing studies at UCLA. They studied New Wave Filmmaker School. School should embrace the past. It shouldn't exclusively embrace the past, but it definitely, part of education should be catching up on all the things that have been done up to now to the extent you can. As useless as film education is in India, if you can, you should. Yeah. I think that everyone's uses for things are different. So the most important thing to do is just not buy into either disdain for all of it or overrating of all of it. That's sort of what I'm trying to get you to do, is to say, check your situation. Don't overrate any of these paths. Don't underrate them. There is valuable. Film studies. Yes, film studies can produce like-minded directors. It depends. Certainly you do. There are film schools that beat the rules into you, and you are forced to follow them. That is certainly possible. How about we just create an informal? Yes, absolutely. That would be lovely. I would be in favor of that, and if I wasn't busy, I would be happy to work on it. Okay, so the question is, can you afford that film school? Here's the thing I think you should remember. Figure out what you are going for and find out if that's real. In other words, if the thing that you're going for is because you put this tens of thousands of dollars into film school, you will get back X amount of money in pay, find out if that's real. If you are going because you think you're going to get access to the industry, find out if that's real at the school you are talking about. And I don't mean just look for the one person who won the lottery. I mean, find out what the reality is of these schools, so that their programs are, what they offer, what they honestly do in them. And that can be really, really good. The main thing is accept your part in getting what you want. In other words, if you want to go to film school for a reason, accept that you are going to have to, even if you go to film school, figure out your use of what they give you. Your abilities, your focus is going to be steering what you learn in or out of film school. And the most important thing I can just say over and over again is every artist has to make their own path. And whatever you go to film school for, first of all, make sure it's there. And second of all, make sure that you don't sit there and say, show me how to do this. Go in saying, this is what I think I want to do. Let's talk about how I do that. If you are just walking around saying, tell me the rules, I will follow them, you can't be a working artist. You can be a working tech person, although honestly, even then, you need to bring your best game to whatever it is. The important thing about artistic education is how much it is absolutely required of you to take responsibility for what is being given to you and what you find. You're going to have to find that in school or out. So take it on as your job. Yes, at the moment in America, most of the valuable industry connections are going to happen in Los Angeles or New York. Not only, but most of them, sure. The main thing I just want to say is ask yourself, like, who are you? Are you good at self-education? Do you push yourself? Are you disciplined? Can you be relentless and able to keep trying new things? That's good. Even in film school, that's important. Even in college, you need to figure out how to make use of what they are giving you. They don't give you the answers. They give you tools, techniques, information, stuff for you to use. That is the key. Storytellers do rock. I will say that. I think that's fair to say. Okay, so that is the main thing about film school. Just if you are going, There is an awful lot of information out there now. And certainly you should hear both positive and negative. Try and find out. Don't just buy the advertising, and find out as much as you can about the reality. Film school does not give you anything. Film school is an opportunity for you to do things. That's the thing. It does not set you up. Honestly, even medical school won't, you will have a medical education at the end, but you still have to do the work and find your path as a person who is living in this world. Yes, you absolutely, it is very, very valuable to know the tradition in order to innovate. Otherwise, a lot of your innovations will turn out to not be innovations at all. The biggest advantage I see of film school guys and me in engineering dropout is film school guys have the network and are always connected. Yes, they find jobs on set. This is absolutely true, Anthony. Film school connections, if you are working on set, are very valuable. So all I can say is do remember, especially to think about what kind of work you want to do. Do you love film so much that you would be happy to work on set in a specific craft, which is very, very much going to be high pressure and high intensity and not necessarily leave you time to write and direct your own things? Some people can, some people can't. The most important thing to recognize is that film school for screenwriters is valuable if you can afford the time and the money. Did I join the East Coast Guild? No, I joined the West Coast Guild. Well, actually, I think I did initially join the East Coast Guild because I was living on the East Coast. But I moved 2 years later and joined the West Coast Guild. That's a union question about America. The Writers Guild in America is divided into the West Coast Union and the East Coast Union. They have to work together. My problem in film schools is the access for film gears to learn. Expect there's like a big production. They let the student use it. Do you think I have to own personal gear to ensure my dream role? I would say it depends on what gear you're talking about. For instance, if you want to be a cinematographer, you may want to buy cameras because you can rent them out as packages while you are working. You don't want to buy a full production suite. You don't want to buy mics and lights and dollies and editing software and all that stuff just to make your own film, depending, actually. Because of the way that DIY and consumer and digital has happened, it's not that difficult to own your own equipment. It takes a while to build it up. I would say the question is, if you're trying to use high-end professional level equipment, no, do not buy it. Do not buy high-end professional level equipment unless you are planning to specialize in that equipment. The answer is work with the consumer level equipment. It's good. It can be really good. Can I discuss the dreaded Act 2? I can discuss the dreaded Act 2. I can't do it with only 6 minutes, so I will make a note to discuss the dreaded Act 2 at another time. Craftsmanship can be taught to people who are way more talented for it. Always true. Talent and craft are both required. Talent can be developed. It cannot be taught, but everyone has some talent, and talent can be developed, can be enriched, can be brought out. Yes, yeah. If you are working with those are professional level cameras that Anthony is talking about. Anyway, behind the scenes, yes. And so Anthony's talking about how he learned the high-end technical stuff without the film school. There are ways. It takes time. You need to be determined and self-motivated and get in the practice of teaching yourself and learning new things. That's the main thing. Get into the habit of it. Ask yourself, as I do what I want to do, how can I push my boundaries of knowledge and experience a little more every time? All right, so that was film school for the day. We're going to be back Thursday. I don't know what I'm doing Thursday, so find out Thursday. In the meantime, I hope that you will all stay safe, stay healthy, and go write something.